the recording for the meeting.
I officially want to apologize. That was my fault last week because I was in the office, so I didn't follow the normal channels of making an agenda. I thought I would just casually drop in on Mary and we would do it. Then naturally, I casually forgot to follow up that day, so I apologize to everybody for that. So with that said, my mea culpa is there. Let's see here. Oops, I'm looking at the 4th agenda. There we are, the 9th agenda. Do we have anybody for public comments?
So if anybody's joined and they raise their hand in using the button, the little hand button in the center of their meet.
I don't see anybody.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Well, we will keep that open for the first 15 minutes and go from there. So, Bart, if you can give us an update on the status of the membership for next year.
Sounds good. I put a link in the chat to a Google Doc that talks about the membership, and we can, if anybody's interested, can work from that. But we're doing well for membership. The only one that we don't have right now is a CSEA representative for next year. So this next board meeting on the 11th coming up, we have 5 applications and 4 slots for the community parent guardian that will be appointed by the board, so that we'll know after that who will be filling those. And then for employee organization, we have 4 new members. So we have they're going to be joining us next month. Larry Millard from American, he's a teacher there. Jason Whaley is a STEM teacher at Horner. Dawn is returning, and Michelle is returning, and Henry Fung is been at our committee before. He's swapping with Allison as a FUTA rep. And then we also have a new FSMA assistant principal from American, Sanhya Sharma. I have that pronounced right. And then, of course, we have our SURF member getting promoted in the fall. So they come together over the summer, and then we find out who that is. So, yeah. So, Anne, did you have any news on CSEA or any
I do not. I have not heard any further. As much as I enjoy all of you and the musical interludes, after 12 years, it's time.
I guess at this time, probably I have also today filed my paperwork to retire. And so I will not be here next month as well. I know I let Bart know because my position is appointed by the superintendent, and so the Bart will notify CJ, and then CJ will then reach out. Just so you know, my position normally, what happens is you talk to the CTO. The CTO looks at it and solicits input as to a teacher that would represent the superintendent of the table. So in this case, it would be hard for a CTO to reach out within. I don't know where the status is of the current CTO, but that's. But I wanted to say that I also have enjoyed all my years in the various positions that I've occupied at TAC, and I'm sure that it will continue on and do well in the future. So, and you and I are going out at the same on. There we go. So I wish everybody well. Okay. Anything else on membership? No. Okay. This has been a a topic that we've talked about a few times over the last year or so, and there's been some conversations regarding that. And I looked at our notes over the last year and a half on this subject, and I kind of did a distillation that I felt reflected the will of the majority of the people. And this is just a proposed agenda item, and I didn't formalize it because I wanted to have a brief conversation. What the committee's feelings were, if we should formalize this in the form of the bylaws, and if so, then we should probably put it into formal language, which would be the next year's committee, and then vote, have an official reading, open for comment, and then vote, and then be put into the bylaws. That would be my suggestion. But I didn't want, this is just a proposed progression. Obviously, if the board, and I want to be clear, the board, not one board member, but the board directs us, and occasionally during a board meeting, the board will say, this probably should go before TAC, and then those items, occasionally been brought to us. That obviously is our primary function. We do report to the board. The second level then would be the CTO request. That person tends to have their finger on the pulse. They know that what is pressing in technology, and historically they have brought that to the TAC, and we've talked about it in terms of there was a question about what I'm talking about. This is how items come to the agenda. I guess I could have made that, I could have formed that a little bit.
No, I'm sorry. I just don't see specific wording in the agenda.
Is that better? So now under number 2, under old business. You see it there?
Agenda items proposed, Allison, and then it has some numbers.
You say that now?
Are you looking at the May 9th agenda?
I am, yeah.
So old business, 20 minutes. Number 1 was new member TAC update.
Mm-hmm.
2 is how items are brought to our agenda.
Okay, board
Both.
directed CTO. Okay, it's just
Okay.
it's a lot less direct, detailed than I expected. Sorry.
Oh, well, we've talked around it for quite a while, and I read all the talking, and I felt that's why I'm bringing it today. Do we feel that this represents the will of the committee? If not, the committee can come up with new. But when I looked at our notes, this seemed to be the priorities that we felt: the board first, then the CTO. And not only do I feel that it represented the overwhelming opinions, but this seems to be how things have been placed on the agenda in the past. The third is technology advisory committee request. And this is the gray area, but the reality is we each represent a constituency. Whether you're a FUDTA rep, a CSEA rep, SEIU rep, whether you're FSMA, you represent a constituency. And I think it's important that when something comes to the agenda, it's very clear that it's not Tom Burbeck, I want to do this kind of thing. I've talked to teachers, or teachers have emailed me, and when I bring it to the table, I'm representing the constituency. And in any committee, and I've served on a variety of committees, and right now I'm on a committee other than TAC, it's important that my personal agenda is not brought to the table. It's the constituency that I represent agenda. So I think that's important. And I think that's been the stress for some of us, is when we feel that one person is bringing their personal, not necessarily the constituency. So, so I guess the question is, do we feel this represents the opinion of the committee? And I'm asking informally, then what should happen now, I believe, is this would be put into formal language, incorporated in our bylaws, then we would adopt it, and then I assume that the board would have to approve that, then that our bylaws would be changed. Would that be the, oh, there we go. I wasn't sure what the constituencies. I was saying I misspelled it wrong.
No, I'm sorry. And members needs an apostrophe. That's it. Otherwise, this looks fantastic. Thank you.
So is thoughts, comments on this from the committee?
I'll just say, I think it looks great, and I think it seemed like people wanted something more formal somewhere, and I think that sums up basically what we've been doing for years. And if it helps people have that clarity, then let's just put it in the bylaws and be done with it.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I'm not sure it necessarily needs to be in the bylaws because if we change the bylaws, it takes quite a bit to do that. I'm wondering if it's more of a meeting norms or a TAC, how to propose, working on the TAC document, some kind of help document of some sort that we could promote to all of our, and we could potentially just vote that we're going to follow the meeting norms, and then we would be able to reference that document. But if it needs to be stronger, that's fine too. I'm not saying don't do that, but that was sorry.
I guess I would look for a little bit of guidance from Board Member Jones. What would your feeling? Do you think the board would be okay with this being a committee norm, or do you think that they would be more comfortable with it being adopted and formalized in the bylaws? I mean, do you have an opinion?
I don't. To me, it's fine either way. I guess I mean, my own personal opinion, which I don't speak for the whole board, would probably be a norm. But I
guess my feeling is I want people to know what this is, so that moving forward, that a new member comes on board, they understand it. Because I think that there is that, that idea that, okay, I look at this and say, I think we've talked about it, and this is something always been along. The idea is that sometimes members come on board and they're not quite sure where TAC fits in the overall structure of Fremont Unified. So I think this would, if nothing else, provide clarity, in particular for new members, as to how we fit in that structure. So that I think it sounds like those that are speaking up would feel like it should be a norm. I guess my feeling would be then is that not us, because some of us are leaving, that that in June, those that are coming on board then adopt norms that would be listed in our minutes on a regular basis, just like any norms are listed for any committee meeting on an ongoing basis. So that would be my suggestion.
We've got 4 hands up, Tom.
Oops, let me. I'm trying to see here. There we go. Okay, Allison.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it could be both, like if it could be a norm, and it would be very helpful if it were in the minutes at the top or whatever. But then additionally, could it be a bylaw amendment that would take, I know how much time that takes to get passed, but meanwhile, it could be a norm, and then it could be something more permanent. When I joined, it was very difficult to get anything on the agenda, and I'm sure that wasn't intentional. It's just the composition of the committee changes over time. And so it'd be nice to have something a little bit more spelled out about how somebody gets that, and just for it to be clear to new people who are representing a group of people that they are supposed to go solicit, needs from their constituency, so that's clear.
Okay, good. Says E.T. Oh, Ellie. I'm looking at E.T. here. I'm like, E.T.
yeah, Elliot phone home right here. I hear what Allison's saying. I think clarity is absolutely something that is a benefit to the committee. While at the same time, if it becomes part of the bylaws, then I wonder if there needs to be a follow-up kind of additional details as to what qualifies for a representative to have solicited information from their representative group versus it being slightly more informal, where it's just a meeting norm, where the expectation is that all of us seek out information from the groups we represent, but the ways at which we do that could still vary depending on what works best for FSMA versus FUTA versus CSEA or parent groups.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I said if the intent for the long run was to put it in the bylaws, I do excuse me, I do believe that it would have to be a much more definitive, explanation. Whereas this, as it's listed as here, it is informal. I do think the value there is that it's on the minutes every time, and people would see that as a norm and be reminded. I think that one of the things that perhaps, and we don't do enough outreach into our constituencies. We tend to be more reactive than proactive, and that how you formalize that, I think, is something that future TAC people can deal with. Michelle.
Yeah, I just, with what you have to go through with a bylaw change of noticing people, you still end up, dealing with, 9 people that are making a decision about this, that then puts it in such a black and white format where the norm, what's norm now may end up being slightly changed, whether it's an apostrophe or it's a whole wording or a mission statement type situation. I think having it as a norm, it's more relatable to people rather than having to go back and reference to a bylaw. And so I like the idea of it being, set up as a norm.
Okay, good. Dawn?
Yeah, I'm team norm. And I think going back to the idea of it, the clarity of it, I would love to start the next round of TAC, if you will, the next year, which I really think that's something that's missing is norms. I'm just going to throw this out there. We have a tendency to go over our meetings, go too long. And I think that if we start the June meeting with the new people and say, the first thing we're going to do is establish norms, and those norms are at the top of every agenda, that kind of checks all the boxes of things people are saying. Like Allison's point, we want it to be clear to everyone. We want everyone to know it. If it's at the top of every agenda, that's part of our norms, I think that fulfills that request and does it in a way people aren't going and looking at our bylaws. Right? They're going to look at our norms. And so if people come to our meeting and see the agenda, it's right there. I think that it makes more sense that it's on our norms. And typically the purpose of norms is also to revisit and discuss and check in with your norms at every meeting, right? So you start the meeting, okay, let's review our norms. Does anyone have anything that they would like to maybe change or add to them? And it's an ongoing thing that's easy to change. And to Bart's point, the bylaws, it's difficult, and I just don't think they're accessible anyway. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to stop talking.
Okay. Well, my suggestion would be for at least now, which wouldn't require voting or anything, is that this be incorporated into next meeting's agenda as a norm, and then if down the road the committee says, yeah, we like them as a norm, but we also, then that committee at that point then could move beyond adopting norms. I think I think Dawn says that if it's in front of people in the norms, you are going to see it. And to be clear, I have yet to belong to an organization where everybody sits around and reads bylaws every time. But the norms, you do read them every time, and then you do revisit and you say, does anybody have any questions, or does anybody have a suggestion as to change? So I think there's the value there. So I need some help here because, I'm sorry, anything else on this before we move on? No? So the election of the new officers is normal that we do this. And as I said in my apology, as a voting person here, I feel uncomfortable voting for officers when we have so few members here. And especially when I'm looking at how many people won't be part of the committee in June that are voting members or won't be here. So I guess I would look for a motion that we postpone the election of new officers until the June meeting. I don't think we have a slate here enough to fill all of the, I guess we could have 2 people if they were interested, but I'm not sure how that would work, but that is my suggestion to the committee.
Well, we're gonna lose 2 more people anyway that, like,
Right.
we're gonna have to vote again anyway for the new
Right.
people, so it seems like it doesn't hurt to wait. But do you invite the new people to vote for themselves, though? Is that is that weird?
Well, in
Like-
some ways, it's always been funny to me that we have a June 1st of the year meeting. It's always been kind of weird to me that Tech does that for whatever reason. I honestly don't know why it's always been that way, but at least we know that the people who would be here would be in, and that voting. Whereas I'm looking at this meeting right now. You're here, Dawn. I don't know, John. Ellie, you're not here, right? I don't know if Diane's here, but she's not eligible. Allison's not here. I'm not here, and I don't know about Anita or Juan. But I don't. Unless anybody has objections. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bart.
I think it would be good. I'm willing to make a motion after my comment, but I think if you appoint a acting chair, because we do need a leader for the next, even if we don't get a chair in June, we need somebody that will run the next at least two meetings, I think, out of the 3 of us. Right now it's Michelle, Dawn, and me, I think, out of this group right here that are going to be here in June. So if anybody's willing to do that, I think that would be a safer bet than just saying, hey, we're going to kind of pull it all together in June.
So is either Dawn or Michelle willing to accept the responsibility of acting chair in preparation for the June meeting? No, I don't want you arguing over it here.
I can.
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Where's Linda Licari in this mix? Because she's the vice chairperson.
She is going to be voted on in the next meeting, so she potentially may not be here as well. The next board meeting on Wednesday.
And she's not here today either, so it's kind of.
I don't mind doing it for June.
So, Bart, would you like to make a motion?
Can I ask a clarifying question, or is that after? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Alice.
I just I'm a little confused. Okay, so as an outgoing member, I was planning on being here today and not the next time. I'm just sort of confused if we push off this vote to later than we've ever done it before. Who is actually voting? And I'm just a little confused about how that would actually work. I want to make sure that my group is not disenfranchised.
Okay, we would be voting. I assume Bart's motion is that we appoint an acting chair for one meeting. We would vote to have Dawn the acting chair for the June meeting. At the June meeting, the new committee then would elect the officers moving forward. Is that clear?
Yeah, would incoming representatives of employee groups be able to vote then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Because I was, again, planning on my successor being here. I will be out of the country and I'm not sure I can be there, and I don't want the teachers to be
No, it would be the new representatives.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Juan? You're muted.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment there. So I've been here for 2 years, two chairman elections. I remember it was always done in June meeting. So now I'm looking at the agenda item in last June. Yeah, one of the agenda item is the election of officers, chairs, vice chair, and secretary. I believe it's always done in June. So what we're proposing to do here makes sense. So we don't need to worry about anything.
Okay, so Bart, would you like to officially make a motion then?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to have Dawn be our acting chair at the next meeting, and that way we can elect officers at that point.
Do I have a second? I'm sorry. Do we have a second? I'll second it. All in favor? Oh, I need a second. Good. All in favor?
Please post your vote in the chat. That way we'll have a roll for that. So if you agree, put a yes. If you don't, put a no, and then abstain if you don't want to vote.
Okay. Thank you, Don, for stepping up there. Okay. Looks like we have a pass or there, and yes, they would be able to vote. So, okay. Set the date for the June meeting that we're suggested is June 6th. I'm sorry. I don't know if we need an official vote on that, to be honest. But I think that it's better to be proactive and take an official vote versus having somebody feel. So, would somebody like to make a motion that the I'm sorry, Ellie.
With that being the last instructional day, is there any concern that there would be decreased availability for parent members or anybody in terms of making that meeting at that date? And if the answer is there's just not enough days remaining in the calendar, then it just has to be what it is.
Yeah, and I think we'd be in a lot more world of hurt holding off until after the 13th after school. I think that would be not, so. Okay, so somebody
I'd like to make a motion to have our first meeting of the 22-23 to be June 6th, 22.
Do I have a second? Don seconds. All in favor?
Please vote in the chat.
Okay. Don?
Can I make a recommendation that we strongly word when we send the meeting date to the new people, that we make it very, very clear the importance of their attendance at that meeting so that we have quorum and can vote? I think we just need to make that really, really clear. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I think the acting chair can appropriate.
I see what you did.
Hey, Dawn, I will be having all the contact information, so I will route it through you, and I'll work on a draft first, and then you can send it out to the group.
Thank you so much.
What?
Good deed goes unpunished.
Just a quick comment there, Don, for you. I think in the past, our past CTO and Robert played a key role in really getting a new member on board. Since our old CTO is no longer here, maybe, Don, you can reach out to Robert. I think Robert will have a pretty good sense of how to deal with the new community team members.
Okay. Mary, you're up. You're muted.
Okay, I was
There you
all muted. So I just want to say thank you for your service. each and every one of you. It's important what you do. It's important the things you bring to the committee. And so as interim CTO, I want to say thank you for not just for me, but for Lucas, who appreciated it, and for Joe Siam, who appreciated it. Was anybody here before Joe Siam? Yep. Who were John Kroll? John would appreciate it too, you know. So this is really important work you're doing. So for those that don't know me, I'm Mary Lassica. I'm the interim CTO because Lucas got a great position at San Jose State. This was not how I expected to spend the last 3 months of my work life here at Fremont USD because I am retiring on June 30th. So I hope to have a CTO in place by the time I retire, so I at least have some overlap with them. In addition, my position came up, was posted last week. And so again, I want to have at least 2 weeks with whoever my replacement is going to be, so there's some continuity. In the meantime, what I do at work now is, yes, I'm still answering email and everything, but I'm going through and indexing all the things, the processes we have in place, the instructions on how to do different things. So we'll have a clean index for that transition. Some of the things we're working on still are the 6,000 Chromebooks. We are getting almost all of them into stock within the next week. We are storing them at different school sites and in the Technology Training Center. We've already given out 340, I think, to virtual academies that are testing this spring. They'd rather test on Chromebooks and have people try to set it up on PCs or Macs, which is very difficult to set up. So we've already got some of those out. And then we're going to be getting some for summer school, of course. So summer school has requested that, for example, the middle school, junior high summer school has requested that all their students have Chromebooks. And so we're going to be checking them out to students. If those students do not have a device at home, they can keep that device for the length of their tenure here at Fremont USD. These were paid for by federal funds. The only thing the district had to pay for was the $35 Google licensing fee. And so it's a great opportunity then to get Chromebooks for students that don't have a device, or they share a device with a sibling. And that's often the case too for larger families. Next August, we're going to start taking names from secondary schools first. And we're going to be providing Chromebooks for all the students that need them at secondary schools. In addition to that, we have some hotspots for internet access, but those weren't funded for next year through this federal program. So we are looking for funds for those hotspots. For now, we have enough for home health care, MKV students, which are my homeless population, recent Afghan immigrants, migrants, and then we'll look at what else they can get, who else can pay for that service, and then we'll see what we can do with other hotspots. We've got hotspots to, we've got other hotspots to give out to students if we can get more money for the internet access itself, the monthly recurring. Dawn, you had a question?
Yeah, when you are mentioning making sure the secondary students have devices, is there an intention of like bringing them to school, or is it just leaving them at home?
No, they can bring them to school. However, these Chromebooks can never be put into carts or shared with another student. They are checked out to one student, and that's going to be their Chromebook for the length of their tenure here at the district. And so it's not a one-to-one program, but they can be used at school, at home. It gives them flexibility. So it's a good program. And we took advantage of it while we could. But part of this program means that it's a federal program, so we have to keep meticulous records. So right now we're at the district office assigning them to students, and then they're shipped out to the school with a loaner form with the student's name on it. It's time consuming, but it means our records will be clean if and when there's an audit. I presume there's going to be an audit in 3 to 5 years on this. And I just want to make sure we have all our ducks in a row for that. Any questions on the 6,027 Chromebooks from the Emergency Connectivity Fund? Okay, just an update the other day, just so you know what happened on Friday afternoon, there was a blip in our internet service. It was down for about 15, 20 minutes. That was the Alameda County Office of Education had an issue, and they're working on that, but it was a small outage. And so, you know, it wasn't a huge disruption, but it was a disruption on Friday afternoon. So again, we apologize for that. We're just working on different things to try to get that service to be as robust as possible and stable. So that's about it, because a lot of the other stuff will be handled by the new CTO that's coming in and the new IT support administrator that's coming in. But I want to say thank you. This district is an incredibly good district, and your service is so appreciated. So thank you very much.
Mute, Tom. Mute.
I just wanted to say, Mary, I've worked with you for quite a few years now too, and you've just always been so helpful. So I appreciate all your service to not just the district, but me personally as well. And whenever I come in, there's always smiley face and eagerness to help with any of my personal tech issues that I've experienced. So, and I would say everybody in the tech department has been that way over the years. So there we go. Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, we're just lucky. So thank you. We've got a great team in there.
Yes. Okay. Any, potential future tech items, any suggestions, pressing issues from, I could say it's Centerville, and I guess representing constituents and teachers, there's a real hope and concern, same on two sides of the card, that once the remodel is done, the internet becomes much, not stable. I will say it's been very stable, but it's been very slow going for us. So, particularly with the use of Infinite Campus, that's a real, I don't know what the interface is with them, but that's been a real problem. Bart?
The website will be coming in the fall, website provider. So that's something to attack on the horizon. We've talked about before, but as a heads up, that'll be
okay. So School Loop is on the web.
Yeah, going away by 2023.
Okay. Well, that's called job security, Mr. Payne. Every 3 or 4 years, new web provider. You know. Okay. Without further ado, then I guess this is the fastest TAC meeting on record.
Sorry, we do need to circle back real quick and approve the.
Approve the minutes. I'm sorry.
April 4th.
I move to approve the April 4th minutes. I already read them, and they're lovely, Ellie.
I second.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Bart.
Any questions? Nope. All in favor, put aye in the chat. Okay.
Can I just ask one question then? So if
Yep.
I'm not hearing anything from this group, am I assuming that the June meeting will just be to vote on the, chair people and positions and any other new update that
I
have a
would,
new CTO? If we don't, Mary, are you back next month then? And okay.
I think following your suggestion, Dawn, I won't be here, but I would suggest, I think a good start would be with the new
Norms.
committee to adopt the norms. And
Yeah.
I don't know if the right word is fortunately, unfortunately, sometimes norms can take an extraordinarily long time to agree on, but I think that might be a nice,
Okay.
lack of it, nice to get on there. Allison?
I'm sorry, I was just having trouble finding the draft minutes. I think I might have just found them.
Oh. Okay. Um,
Are you?
okay.
Yeah. Are we trying to wait? I'm assuming that means Allison.
We already passed them. So,
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine.
okay, well, without that, then I wish everybody good luck and good health moving forward, and everybody take care. Bye-bye. Oh, and Bart's going to bust out there.
Yeah, last meeting for me. Thanks so much for working with me, you guys. Take care.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Like